Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far and that it's been treating you well. If you are watching us live, hit the like button down below, say hello. If you are watching from, I know we've got followers all across the world, so if you're watching, let us know where you're watching us from. We'd love to chat with you in a little bit and answer any questions that you have. So if you do have questions, pop them down in the comments as we go along. So if you're watching this, you are either an excellent top fan of ours and couldn't miss a live, which appreciated, or you may have had a conversation with your physician or your loved one has with regards to having an amputation, whether it's a partial amputation or a full amputation. This can have a significant impact on your activities of daily living and even your lifespan. So if you've been watching us on social media this month, we've really been talking about how OxyGeni can have a great impact on your healing. And I have a very special guest that we're going to bring on from Phoenix, Arizona. And let me try and bring him on screen now. And there he is. Hi, Dean.
Hey, that was easy.
How are you, my friend?
Good, good. Yeah, those new phones, you don't set up everything on there, it just doesn't work right away.
Live videos, they're always good. Well, I was just letting everybody know how proud we are to work for EO2 and that this portable silent oxygen generator will actually convert room air from 21% oxygen to 100% oxygen. And then it's placed down over top of the wound and the oxygen gets distributed via our OxySpur dressing. And if you or a loved one have experienced diabetic foot ulcers on the foot and again spoke to your physician or limb salvage team about amputations, you may want to keep watching because both Dean and I have had a lot of experience over the years dealing with patients and preventing amputations. And that's why a lot of the limb salvage programs across the country are actually calling and getting in contact with us, wondering how they can actually incorporate OxyGeni into their protocols. So if you've been watching us again all month long, this is something that we've been really talking about on our social media. So if you want to learn more, you can always go to eo2.com or check out some of our earlier posts from this month. But Dean, I've done a lot of talking. Why don't you introduce yourself to our Facebook community and our LinkedIn community and our Twitter community and let them know a little bit about yourself.
Of course. Well, thank you, Kate. So my history, I'm not a salesperson by nature. I'm a military guy. I did 22 years in the Navy. Retired in 2012. I was a Navy SEAL during that time, and I was also a medic. So I do have a background in medicine. Although it had nothing to do with chronic wounds, really, mostly trauma and acute wounds and those sort of things. But with my background, the company took a chance on me and let me work here in Arizona to see what I could make happen. As it turned out, it was good. I've done some great things here, especially with amputation and limb salvage. Yeah, that's where we really started off here in Arizona, and we've had just some really great success ever since.
Well, and so diabetes is prevalent within our native population. And tell us a little bit more. So you've been working with the Indian Health Services in a bunch of different clinics. How did that all get started? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I got in there in late around Thanksgiving of 2015 for probably the previous 5 or 6 years. The physicians there had noticed a steep increase in amputations that they were having. By that time period in 2015, I already had 17 amputations that year. So they were having some really scary wounds, and we had patients in their 20s that we treated for diabetic foot ulcers. So yeah, the community has a very high rate of complications due to diabetes. But so we started off there in 2015, and for the next 18 months after we got started, they had 0. So from 17 in 10 months to 0 in the next 18 months, and then over the next 5 years, they only had 5. This last year with COVID, they have seen an increase, but they think it's mostly due to people staying away from the clinics. The Native American reservations have been locked down because of COVID. We've had a lot of, so they just haven't been coming in until the wound was at a point that just wasn't salvageable.
Right.
But then, even then, we have been able to, even on like a TMA, they'll put us on over the incision line to save it, or to prevent a BKA going to an AKA.
Yeah. And so just for those of you watching, a TMA is a transmetatarsal amputation. So getting, having to take the toes off, and then a BKA is below the knee amputation, and then an AKA is above the knee amputation. So unfortunately, as things progress, if there's no resolution, then yes, those amputations go higher and higher, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have a lot of thank yous for your service, and I will extend the same thing. Thank you for your service, sir.
A lot of fun.
Good. Now, you mentioned COVID, and that is a problem. Patients are advised to, or reluctant to go in for regular wound care, and we've seen it firsthand. When you neglect a wound and it starts to deteriorate more and more, you really need to catch it before amputation starts to be a discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when it starts to get osteo in there. Back there in the heel is very common. Yeah, it's hard to save it once it gets to a certain point.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I'm interested with this limb salvage program that they started within your area. OxyGeni being pure oxygen, right? And it's low flow oxygen, so no risk associated with the utilization of this. Are there common wound care products that they are using in your clinics in conjunction with the OxyGeni product?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 3 very common products that they use with it. The first one's hydroferroblue. Okay. And that's for wounds after like a surgical debridement that are deeper, or a wound that just because obviously our dressing's flat. So if there's some depth to the wound, the hydroferroblue can take up that depth and help transfer the exudate to our pad. Right. Second most common one would be like a Draw-Tex. So go in between the hydroferroblue, if there is hydroferroblue, and our pad. And the reason for that is that sometimes they'll want to extend the life of the dressing for high exudate wounds like VLUs or something like that. And mm-hmm. So the Draw-Tex can extend the life because it's porous, so the oxygen can penetrate through it, but it has very high absorptive capacity. Yeah. So it also allows that transfer of exudate up to our dressing. Mm-hmm. And so all of the dressings that they create are designed to go for a week, high exudate wounds. And then the third product that they use for a peri-wound barrier, because of those high exudate wounds, they'll use a camelseptine on there, a zinc-based barrier cream. And that's been very effective at just preventing that maceration, which can occur for dressings that are on for longer periods of time.
No, that's great advice. And actually, calmoseptine is, you can find it in the incontinence aisle at any Walgreens or CVS. So if you're dealing with some maceration or overly moist wound edges, you can always
Hmm.
utilize some of that to help out. So no, that's great, because a lot of people don't realize that yes, this is a complete therapy system, but if there are deeper wounds, larger wounds, you can absolutely utilize different products underneath this.
Hmm.
And it's important to note as well that these dressings only need to be changed once a week, technically, right? So sometimes they'll do additional changes if the exudate gets too high, but it sounds like most of the patients that you were seeing over at Indian Health Services and still are weekly dressing changes, yes?
Yes, yeah, they're all designed to go for a week, and with the experience that they have, they can build those dressings because they're very familiar with what type of exit they're going to get from different types of wounds. What I always advise somebody starting off is to bring them in probably 3 to 4 days,
Mhm.
because you'll see an uptick in the exudate, and then you can kind of start to see how much exit the wound is going to produce,
Yeah.
and you can play with other materials to either extend the life, or if the person's capable and the dressing isn't too complex, they can do home dressing changes,
Mhm.
um, or a loved one or home health care or something like that.
Absolutely. And so did most of your patients do dressing changes themselves, which I know is very common where I'm at, or did they go into the clinic to get it done?
Pretty much all the ones in podiatry for the limb salvage came in to get it redone. That's because they had more complex
Yeah.
dressings, required somebody with more skill to apply.
Mhm.
But with general surgery, they're the ones that typically have like the incision lines, or they'll have more chronic wounds,
Right.
and they yes, is our traditional method where they just so those patients are capable of doing it on their own, and so they'll even because of COVID, it's nice because they can only come in maybe monthly or something like that,
Mhm.
and just keep in contact with the physician while they're doing dressing changes on their own at home.
Yeah. And the great thing that I found about this is it's peel and stick or place and tape. I mean, these dressings are not hard to put on, and most patients are able to do those changes themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So before we close off, I'm interested, Dean. Stories are always great. I know I've seen a lot of patients that, as I mentioned earlier, their lives have been altered because of this device, because of continuous diffusion of oxygen and because of OxyGeni. Is there one story that really touches your heart about a patient that you're never going to forget?
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's a lot, obviously,
Yeah.
but the one that sticks out is actually the first patient we ever had there that we put it on, and we saw, it's a case study that we have, and the great thing is that when we were placed on, we had the doctor had already scheduled the OR in 7 days to do the BKA. And but he kind of rolled the dice and put us on, and the patient came back, and for either to for the doctor to do the assessment on the wound or to get a BKA, and the doctor looked at it and was like, it's doing pretty good. Let's put it on. We'll schedule you for another week. Put it off for a week and see what happens. So a week later, he comes back and he's like, wow, it's looking really good. Maybe I'll just take you in next week and do a debridement of the area, maybe take a toe off.
Okay.
Uh, so a week later, he came back and he's like, nope, we're not going to take you to the OR. You're going to keep the toe. And he went on to heal. And the guy is actually happens to be a salesperson, travels all over the country. I spoke with him about a year ago, and
Mhm.
yeah, he's doing very well. He's never had any complications from it. And so he's just been able to live his life, and he's very thankful for what we did for him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I'm glad that funny. Will it be this week? No. Will it be next
Yeah,
week? No.
that was Yeah, it was, you know, it's when you first start off and, you know, people don't have the knowledge of what, you know, it can do, or they've never seen it work before.
Yeah.
Kind of amazed, like, wow, okay, I think bring you back in a week, it just wasn't that long and you can see
Yeah.
a turnaround. I'd say we have another story that it's not actually about a diabetic foot ulcer, but a lady that had necrotizing fasciitis there. And she had they had already debrided her down to her femoral artery, and she was a larger lady that so her wound was about 38 centimeters by 35 centimeters by 8 centimeters deep, and so yeah, there was really it was really big, yeah, it was
Yeah.
massive.
I'm just interpreting the centimeters for everybody else.
It
Yeah.
was big, and so the doctor put us on, and 2 days later took a look at it, and he said she's turned around. And 2 weeks later, after therapy, he was able to close her up partially on the ends. And then after 20 days, she walked out of there and went home. They kept her on for about 4 more weeks, and then they ended up doing a skin graft on her, and she was fine.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you and I could keep going on about stories, but
Yeah,
we
I've been doing this for 6 years. I got a lot. I got a lot of stories. Yeah.
And you know what? I think it's brilliant that the more people find out that this little portable oxygen
Yeah.
generator can heal wounds, it's changing the way that physicians practice, and it's changing the way that physicians are looking at physicians and clinicians are really looking at limb salvage and the incorporation of this into their practice. So Dean, thanks so much for coming on. That
My
was
pleasure. Thanks for having
me. Yeah. If you or a loved one, of course, are dealing with a diabetic foot, or you've had that amputation talk with your physician, if you want to reach out, you can comment down below or email us at info@eo2.com. We'd be more than happy to discuss with you different options that are available, or reach out to your physician and just see how we can help. So again, thank you for joining us. Dean, thank you for your service, and thank you for everything that you do for your patients every day. And thanks for sharing all your successes with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.